Hello, welcome to Project SLXy Part 9, my fur green metallic 1997 Acura SLX. We're back in the shop here. I did wrap up the timing belt project. Everything went back together as it should. No extra nuts and bolts. I picked up a brand new Group 27 size 75 750 cold cranking amp battery for the first startup of it once I got everything back together, and nothing. Cranked and I racked my brain for multiple hours to finally remember that I removed the fuel pump fuse for the timing belt project per the factory service manual. So put the fuel pump fuse back in, bam, started right up. She purrs. I did almost immediately have an automatic transmission fluid leak from one of the hoses that runs from the automatic transmission to the radiator to cool the ATF. I went and grabbed a couple of hoses from the local parts store, threw those back in, started it back up, no leaks. So I started with the bleeding process of the radiator coolant system. Before the first startup, I topped it off with coolant. Once the thermostat opens up, it belches out a bunch of air along with a bunch of coolant, makes a big mess. You add more coolant, and as it warms up, it belches out some more coolant, and you add more coolant and do that about 4 or 5 times until finally it stops doing that and you get good flow of coolant through the radiator. So once that happened, I did have a blowout of a coolant line that preheats the intake. It goes from the pipes that go over the top of the back of the engine to the heater core and preheats the intake manifold. So I replaced that line as well. There's a couple more hoses. Now that one blew out, there's a couple more little random hoses on the engine that I'm going to go ahead and replace before I put this thing on the road. But for now, no leaks, running good. He said the heater core dash, everything is all back together. It's making good heat. All the switches, lights, everything work as they should. I did have a request for the interior fuse panel. Here's a shot of that. I hope it helps you out. So yeah, the interior's all back together. Making, cooling the engine as it should, making heat on the inside. I still have to get the AC charged. My buddy Dave at Pat's Auto Care will probably swing back by the house and get that charged up for me in short order here. But for now, I have moved on to transmission fluid. When those hoses blew out in the front, along with replacing the radiator, I lost a fair amount of ATF, so that was going to need to be topped off. While I was down here, just pulled the pan, pulled the filter. I want to replace it, replace all the fluid. These GM 4L30E are not necessarily known as a bulletproof tranny, so I want to give it all the help I can. Get fresh fluid in it, fresh filter in it. Pretty straightforward project to drop the pan. You do have to pull this cross member off and the skid plate for the transfer case, support the back of the transmission with a little jack of some sort before you pull any of that stuff off. So pull the cross member, pull the pan, pull the filter, drain the fluid first, obviously. So got the cross member off and cleaned up here. Transmission mounts all cleaned up, in good shape. I'm going to reuse that. Pan over here is all cleaned up. There was some residue built up on the magnet here to be expected for 168,000. There's the old filter. The fluid was about the color of the filter there. It was dirty, so this project really needed to be done. There's a brand new filter that goes on side by side for you. To pretty obvious that it was time to replace that. So the kit comes with a new rubber gasket here. The old one was paper and super brittle, so get that gasket replaced. Bolt down to 11 foot-pounds. Fill it up with Dexmerc ATF till it overflows from the upper fill plug there. Once it overflows, start the engine. Let the engine warm up to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, or between 90 and 135 Fahrenheit. Then just let the fluid overfill. Once it's done overflowing, put the cap back on, put the bolt back in, and you're done. I just got a little infrared thermal gun to check my temperature. There's a bunch of good videos on servicing the 4L30E here on YouTube. Check one of those out maybe before you do this, but it is an easy project. I also grabbed some 530 to replace the fluid in the transfer case while I'm down there. Go ahead and get that taken care of so all those fluids are fresh. So yeah, that's where we're at with the Acura SLX here. Things are moving along nicely, and I'm getting stuff checked off of the to-do list. So hopefully soon have it back on the road here and give it a good shakedown. Thanks for watching. Bye.